This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Our next guest is our go-to guy in Chula Vista. Please welcome back to the show, the breakdancing realtor, Anthony Manzon.
There he is, Tony Manzon. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Derek?
How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Today, I think we should talk about open houses because you're like the king of open houses, Mr. Mega Open House.
That's me.
But in a hot market, you know, homeowners, I talk to them all the time, and sometimes they don't think an open house is necessary. They're actually starting to get to the point where some people are saying, is a realtor even necessary, right?
Yeah.
We're starting to hear things like this,
Yeah.
Which tells us that the market's hot. Maybe it's too hot. That's another conversation. But in this particular market right now, especially in your area of Chula Vista, does it still make sense to do open houses?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And, you know, the past 3 sellers I've talked to, actually all of them have brought this up. Like, the market's so hot, why do we even need to do open houses? And to me, I feel like the open house is a very important part of the selling process. It's kind of like the rite of passage for the house. You know, it's kind of like the closing of one chapter and opening of the next one. So the grand opening open house is kind of like the introduction back into the market. It gives that fresh new feel. It gets the whole neighborhood energized about their house coming back on the market. It gives everyone in the neighborhood the chance to say, you know what, a new house is on the market in my neighborhood. I always had my cousin that's interested, who's looking to buy a house. I want them to live right across the street from me. Or their friend or family or coworker that wants to live in that neighborhood. It gives them the chance to say, you know what, there's a grand opening this weekend. It's going to look great. It's going to sell fast. Come see the house. And so, you know, the open house is like that rite of passage. The house gives off a good energy. It's like, I'm fresh, I'm back, let's do this, you know? So,
Ready for new owners.
yeah, ready for new owners.
So, I mean, well, you guys put a lot of effort into these open houses, though. I mean, and I think that's a big part of why people should use you in Chula Vista to sell their home, because you do put a lot of effort into these open houses. But how do you sort of combat the question of, is it necessary? In other words, is it going to make a difference? Are we going to sell this house for more money if we do the Mega Open House with Team Manzon?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you brought that up because we actually ran the statistics, actually our own Team Manzon statistics last week on what our average sales to list price. And actually, I was pretty surprised at that. I know my numbers, but I was surprised at the results. So the average realtor in Chula Vista is selling properties at 98% of list price. So if they're listing, let's say at $500,000, they're selling at $490,000. Well, the Team Manzon stats came out last week, and we're at 101.5. So consistently, every single property we sold from January to now, we're selling at 1% higher than list price, and we have done a mega open house for each and every single one. So, I mean, the numbers don't lie. The open houses do work. I mean, we're getting 3% higher for the sale of our properties just because of all the preparation we do into putting on a great grand opening for the house.
Do you think, and those numbers just tell the story right there, I mean, 3%, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot for, like, the average house in Chula Vista is, let's say, $500,000. That's $15,000 more in your pocket right there.
Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't cost people anymore. I mean, you handle all of the costs associated with marketing the open house and doing the open house, so I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but let's just say, for whatever reason, you have your pet snake collection or whatever it is. What if someone says, I don't want to do an open house? How much would that hurt them in this marketplace?
You know, by not having an open house, it really creates more stress for the seller, I believe. Because if you don't have one big day where you can get everyone in at the same time, create that energy, create that buzz, get everyone in, and see their competition, the seller ends up having to show the property more than one time, maybe per day. You know, if you don't have a grand opening day, maybe you'll get 3 calls one day and say, hey, can I show it at 1 o'clock? Can I show it at 4:30? And can I show it at 7? Well, guess who has to be out of the house? Keep it clean, make sure all the dishes are washed, take the dogs out, walk the snakes for those 3 times that one day. You know what I mean? And then the next day, let's say none of them want to put in the offer. Let's say another 3 people want to show. You know, in essence, you can knock that all out in one big weekend, let's say Saturday and Sunday for 3 hours. That's, you know, 6 hours of open house time. Whereas, you know, 3 hours one day, 3 hours the next day, 3 hours the next day until you get the right offer, you know.
I'm just picturing you walking the snakes for your homeowners, for your home sellers, just walking the snakes down
I would do that. You just get a
the
harness.
sidewalks at Chula Vista.
I would do that if they asked us to. I mean, for our sellers, so one thing that's kind of cool, I don't know, I mean, my sellers really appreciate it. I never thought about it much, but when we do our grand opening open houses, we always surprise our family with movie tickets for the whole family to go to a movie. Because it covers the whole day. It's like 3 hours, we're in there, 3 hours they go watch a movie. They kind of don't know what to do anyways. They're like, well, I was just going to go to the park, and we just give them movie tickets, and they go watch a movie.
So what you're saying is that it's not only efficient from a just a return on investment standpoint. In other words, you're going to get your money back out of doing this thing.
Yeah.
But it's also time efficient from the standpoint of just interrupting your daily life.
Yeah.
Especially in a hot market. I mean, when some of these homes go on the market, there could be 10, 12 people who want to see the place, right?
Yeah.
So if you have to accommodate each one of those individual requests, that could be really bothersome to your just daily life.
Yeah, and in addition, when you get everyone in the house at the same time, they see their competition, they're more emotionally invested, they know what there is competition. Because let's face it, when you see a house, you like it, but you're the only one in there, you kind of feel already like, well, maybe if I come in a little bit under asking price, maybe they'll consider it. But when you see like 3 other families and they're like pointing at stuff and smiling, you're like, dang, I want this house. Let's pay a little bit more. They're more emotionally invested. They see their competition, and maybe that's what resulted in our, 101% of list price.
Yeah, that's really impressive stuff, man. I hope you
Thank
guys
you.
can keep that up because that's hard to do.
It is, and for last year, for all of 2015, we were at 101.2%. And then from January to now, we're like at 101.5. So in the past year and a half, every single home sale we did was above 100,000. I mean, over 100%.
Over 100% of list
Yeah.
price, which is one of the key statistics I think people should really look at when they are considering who to hire as an agent, because you have a lot of agents out there who are 95, 96, 97% of list price, which means that they don't know exactly where to list the homes, right, for the most part. And maybe they don't really have a good marketing plan behind it. The thing that I like about your mega open house is that you really commit. You're really committing to a strategy. And the strategy is get everybody who wants to see this thing here at the same time so that there is a competitive environment, so that there is an aura in the air of that this house is going to sell.
Yeah.
If you want to buy it, you better get your pencil out and get moving on your contract.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to write an offer on this property today. Maybe multiple people. I think that's important. Just like when you're buying anything. I mean, if you go to an auction, let's say, and you're going to buy an item, there's inherently a sense of that there are a lot of people who might want to buy this.
Yeah.
The difference with real estate is that you're not going to get to see what other people are bidding.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of just have to guess. You have to guess, or I always tell my client, if we're representing the buyer on a purchase of a property, is put in the offer at the price you value the home and at which you do not want to lose the house. Like, let's say for instance there was a house that's $500,000, and I said, let's say you put in your offer at $500,000, but you found out you didn't get the house, and the person that won was $501. Would that hurt you in your heart at night? Would it kill you? And would you say to yourself, I totally would have paid $501? If you totally would have paid it, in this market, now's not the time to gamble over $1,000. Like, if you want the house, sometimes you got to pay a little bit more.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just a reality of what we've got because there's just not enough homes being built to satisfy the demand. Even down in Chula Vista, where there is some new construction that's slated, there's some new construction that's happening. We still have inventory shortages. We still have a lot of people wanting to go down there because it's brand new, because of the schools, because of all the cool things that are happening. So I think I think it's important for home sellers to definitely know that an open house makes sense.
Yeah.
And the Team Manzon Mega Open House has proven itself statistically to get people more money. So it's the obvious choice. It's the obvious choice. Now I have seen, what do you think about this? But are multiple open houses a good idea, or is it better to commit to just one day and one time?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the way we focus our open house is on one big day, which is our grand opening weekend. Honestly, of the homes that we've sold, I would say 7 out of 8 sell the first weekend. So we always commit and go all out for that first weekend because they most likely will sell in that first weekend if it's priced right, if the condition's great. It's a team effort. The seller's working hard to make sure the home looks great. We're working hard to make sure we have a good turnout. We do as many open houses as we need to until the home sells. But most of the time, we're always selling it the first weekend. So we have the plan in place for either way.
Okay, so commit to one, stick with that. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, do another one.
Yep, we just keep going till the house sells.
Okay.
So.
All right, that makes sense. Because I know sometimes people are thinking, well, what if people aren't available on Saturday morning or Sunday morning or whatever? Should we do one on Wednesday too? How many open houses should we do? What I understand from what you're saying is that you don't want people to think that they can come see this house anytime they want.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you don't want them to feel like. You want them to feel like, oh, there's so many people going to be there this day. I have the perfect client for it that needs to see it, so they need to come in this day. And what we do too is we always say, let's say for instance, mega open house July 1st. We will be reviewing all offers July 4th so that the agents can see, okay, so this really is the grand opening weekend. We're reviewing offers July 4th, and hey, it's resulted in good statistics so far.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that, my friend.
Thank
Continue
you.
doing an amazing job. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Anthony Manzon, Team Manzon. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is the all-time champ on the real estate debate. Please welcome back to the orange carpet, Elizabeth Story, and her special guest, the founder of onearc.org, Albert Sanchez Jr.
Here they are. Welcome to the show. How you guys doing? Great. Well, obviously there's some major stuff going on here, Elizabeth.
Yes.
Excited to have you and Al on today. Tell us what's happening.
Well, you know, we've been talking about this project for a couple of years now, and I've been really excited about all the possibilities for it, and I'm really excited to see it come through. It's something that addresses the need for a lot of children in the community and a lot of parents in the community as well, bringing arts and STEAM and education and bringing a lot of things to the community that the community needs. And I'm really excited about Al's vision and his passion for the project, and I'm just excited to be a part of it and help them see this dream come to reality.
Yeah, it's so neat. So, Al, tell us, this is One Arc E-Park Place, right?
Yes, that's correct. And One Arc Park Place is a place where kids can come and get their hands on a recording studio, the amphitheater, rehearsal studios. They can literally cut a DVD for one of their classmates. So they're going to learn all the operations of the facility.
So is this some sort of school? Is it a charter school? What type of facility is this?
We sought to go the charter school route, but what we found as educators ourselves, we had our hands tied by going the charter school route in the area of accredited teachers teaching the classes. We'd rather pull in industry experts to be teaching the kids how to run the recording studio, how to run the rehearsal studios, how to do the cinerama techniques. We want to bring in the professionals that know how to do that rather than have them learn that at school.
Interesting. So what's the impetus behind this? I know this is a model here. You know, what made you decide to take on a project like this?
Our nonprofit Electronics Research Center has been in the research mode for approximately 15 years. So as educators, we wanted to see what they weren't doing in public school. And what we continued to see was an erosion of the arts and music in public school. So we decided to build a public facility like a museum or a library that can be funded through a tax-exempt bond. And in this case, we're looking at a project that's going to be nearing $200 million.
Holy
So
smokes.
that's a case where San Marcos' budget, their city budget, is only $67 million. So we're bringing technology, we're bringing STEAM, as Elizabeth mentioned, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But what our true distinguishable fact is our E. We put an E in front of the STEAM, and we call that edutainmentology. And edutainmentology is entertainment, education, and technology. So in our 26 classes that we're going to offer, that's all rolled up together.
So how do you get $200 million? You said some sort of bond?
Right. It's a tax-exempt bond, and I have some folks in Woodland Hills, our legal department, that is working on putting this bond together with Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo actually holds the note on this property that we're about to acquire. And the reason we would like to acquire this property is because it has an income stream already from existing buildings that are there. So these days, you don't just go build a theater and hope that the ticket sales are going to pay for the operation. It's not possible. In fact, if you look all throughout the land, arts and music are going away because they're not able to sustain themselves.
Very interesting. So you have an income property that you're essentially building onto.
Correct.
So this is going to be in San Marcos?
Yes.
Yes.
Off
Okay.
of San Marcos Boulevard.
How do you Elizabeth, I'm assuming you're facilitating all this.
Yes.
I mean, how does something like that go down? Because we know a normal home purchase, there's a stack of documents this thick.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
It's complicated, and that's why it's been in the works for a long time, because there's different funding vehicles, and then there's occupancies and occupancy rates and holdovers on the leases and things like that. And then there's also the development aspect and getting everything approved. So it's not something that we can move as quickly as we'd like to, but we have all the right people working on it to make sure that the complicated process goes through smoothly and as quickly as we can. And it's just a lot of fun to be a part of it too, because I've always been a big fan. I've come on in the past talking about similar projects in other areas of revamping communities and bringing new things to the communities and really helping children and parents. I know you're a parent and I'm a parent, and it's summer. And like, for example, the challenge of what to do with your kids all summer is really hard for a lot of parents. It can be complicated. It can be difficult when you're working. It can be expensive. A facility like this that could have extended summer hours where kids could get their hands dirty, if you will, with the electronics and come and explore the facilities and learn, but at an affordable rate for parents, is really something that I'm excited about. And I know that that's a big passion for Al too, is having access, because you want to serve some of the underserved community as well.
Right.
So when do we have any idea when this will be potentially coming to fruition?
It looks like 2018 is our targeted date. And as Elizabeth mentioned, it takes a lot of paperwork, a lot of agencies to come together, and everything's progressing forward. So we think we'll be on schedule for a 2018 opening.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's a big deal in the summer, what to do with your kids. I've seen several examples of that just out and about in the summertime.
Yes.
With parents who clearly aren't used to having their kids all day during the day.
Right, and normally it's a YMCA or that type of arrangement, but we're getting off the sports area and really sticking to the education. And we feel this will teach them life skills too to help them with a job in the future.
Well, I like the art element to it, because it really is. I mean, if you go to Europe, it's a totally different ball game than here in the States. We've just sort of discounted it altogether. Whereas if you go to Spain, for example, you go to a theater on any given night and it's booked, they're sold out.
Yes.
We just don't have that here. It's sort of lost because there isn't as much economy attached to it. But I think it's important for people to have things like that, because even if you are going to be a CPA one day, you still might want to play your guitar at night. That might be the one thing that really sings to your soul. So you're not going to learn that unless you go get lessons one-on-one, which are expensive, or you have the opportunity to, while you would have been at a Boys and Girls Club, for example, playing dodgeball, you could be, you could be learning how to play an instrument or learning how to make a movie or make a podcast or whatever it is, right? It sounds like you guys have everything there.
Yes, we'll have it all. And we're targeting to actually create another public broadcasting station here in San Diego.
That would be awesome.
So we have one public broadcasting station, KPBS, but there's no reason why we can't have another public broadcasting station run by the students. And so now their voice can be heard, and they can have their own news channel and all those things that come along with it. So we're really excited about that.
In my high school, we had that. We had our own television station, we had our own radio station. Totally the inspiration for me, 100%. So I have a feeling that you'll be creating more of me's out there.
Yes,
in the
definitely.
future with something like this, just because you show people how to do it and then they go, oh, okay, I can do that. Then they start to get ideas and then they start to realize, I think I could figure out how to execute that. Because without it, you really don't know. I mean, a lot of people just go and they think, well, I get a degree in sports management or a degree in broadcasting and maybe that'll get me a job, but it won't. The experience, the doing, the hands-on, that's what really does it for you. Al, what do you guys need right now? Is there anything that people who are watching this who want to support a project like this can do to help you right now?
Right now, thank you for asking. Right now we need volunteers, we need mentors. We need folks to get involved, roll their sleeves up and help us, because it's so rapidly expanding. Our limited resources from this small nonprofit that we run, about a half a dozen people made up of veterans, educators, and others that care about kids. We need more people to build these teams, because there's so many aspects of this project. For instance, if you don't get a ticket, let's say we have Carlos Santana in and you're shut out. Well, you can go and park in the Fry's parking lot and literally see the simulcast on these big screen. Yeah. So it's like the drive-in where you're sitting in there and you tune to 88.8 and now you're watching the concert. and having a picnic out in the parking lot. So we really, as an underserved person myself, I want to capture everyone, and I want them to have an opportunity. So that's the goodies that we're building into the project.
That's awesome, Al.
Thank you.
Congratulations for you. This is a big project. Hope you success with this a whole lot.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for bringing Al on the show today. And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is the founder of Military Mutual. Please welcome back to the show, Derek Barksdale.
There he is. LT, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Derek. How you doing?
Great to see you.
All right, nice to see you as well.
The Military Mutual Initiative. This is a big deal for you.
Huge.
Tell us what this is all about.
Well, the Military Mutual Initiative is a nonprofit organization that's founded on the sole principle of giving back to our nation's military, veterans, and their family members in ways of providing transitional education, resources, services, and financial assistance to help those members in those transitions, and also provide some meaningful volunteer opportunities for those that want to give back to others.
That's awesome. Yeah. So in doing that, you know, there's so many people who need the help, the different kinds of help that you're looking to provide. What are some of those things that you plan on doing, you know, with the initiative for people?
That's a very good question, because I thought long and hard about that. You know, I brought a lot of people who have had nonprofit organizations on board the show. I've done a lot of vetting of who those organizations are, what they provide to our community. And that being said, I found a void, and the void is that there's a lot of transitional awareness, and there's a lot of transitional opportunities to help people after they get out of the military or during that short period that they're transitioning out. But there's nothing really to provide transitional opportunities and education during the many, many transitions that a person makes while they're in the military. So at any given time, 20% of every military command has people that are looking to transition to a new duty station or from a duty station, 6 months within that. So that being said, there is about 8 years of a 20-year career that a person is really worried or concerned about their next transition or the transition and going into it. So we've provided some great resources and education to help them with that, because as you know, it can not only deter their careers, but their emotional state, their family state, and if they don't get it right, that could be devastating. But if they get it right, it could just be so rewarding to that family. It could be rewarding to their careers and for their futures that they've had, and the command and our nation's readiness when it comes from a military standpoint.
Yeah, well, you're speaking from experience. 20 plus years in the United States Navy, retired lieutenant.
Yep.
In that, just to give people perspective, you said most of the time people, 8 of the 20 years, they're not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
How many times do you get moved around? If you become a career military person, 20 plus years, how many times do you get shuffled around during that period?
Well, in my 21-year career, I had 9 PCS changes. I've changed commands 9 different times in 21 years. So almost every other year, the enlisted community has a little bit longer of a gap between it, the officer side of the house, and that's where it's great because I've seen both sides. I was enlisted and as an officer. And the more senior you get, and as an officer, you're usually about 18 months to even 24 months out. So with that being said, it's constant, and it's one of those things that always hangs over your head. And what the military learns is that they have to put on this front, like I got it under control. And you know, at the same time, in the middle of their heart, they're like, oh man, I hope this works out. So there's ways to making it work out right for the people, and there's ways that you could plan for it. And there's different lessons learned that I've had, the 400 years of experience that we have within our organization in the military that they have, and then all the different volunteers that we hope to bring onto this project to provide those lessons learned so that we can train them towards those small transitions that mean so much.
Yeah, so how do you sort of, I mean, how can you do this? Because it sounds great, and it sounds like a big project, but how are you going to be able to pull it off? How are you going to be able to get the information to the people who need it?
Well, that's good. And first and foremost, it's not me. I can't do it all. It's a greater purpose. It's much bigger than me. And so with the alignment that we've had with all these other different nonprofit organizations, they're going to be a big critical role to it. All of the people who want to come in and volunteer and be a part of Military Mutual Initiative are going to be a huge role in it, because there's different things that people can do on a volunteer standpoint, such as look up adaptive housing, needs, or maybe even look up and research demographics on a new duty station so they could provide that to a person that's in transition. So long story short, we're hoping to bring thousands of people into this as time moves on, but to start off, we're at about 50 people that are involved in this organization already. And then one big thing is we kind of had our launch party earlier this month, excuse me. And we had about 250 people that were there. We're getting numbers that are astonishing with regards to people who want to become members and are already on board providing different resources, services. We have financial planners that are involved in this, estate planners that are involved in this. We have people that are there to help educate in every just possible way that they can. So really pulling it off, it's going to be bigger than me.
So is this going to be something that is San Diego centric? Is this going to be something that's nationwide eventually? What are your plans for how this is going to work in the end?
Well, it'll be nationwide. So as you know, we've already grown our for-profit organization into a nationwide brand. And every place that we are in those locations, we hope to have the Military Mutual Initiative and really spread throughout the entire country. With that being said, we've already contributed close to $200,000 from Military Mutual itself. That's going to go into the Military Mutual Initiative to provide these resources, and that's going to be spread out to every different command and every different location that people are going to be going to. So the big piece is really education, because what I've found is over time, education is the key to success, just like communication is, and we have to communicate the education piece so they know what it's like to do that transition or so forth. So with that being said, the goal is to be on a nationwide standpoint, but it's really starting here in San Diego. This is the hub. This is a very deep-rooted military town, so to say. And right here, there's so much need that's in store for people. We want to be able to provide it here and then move from there.
Sound of freedom, as you're saying that.
Yeah,
it's a
I love
military
it.
town. The sound of freedom flying right over us right now.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you, because we want to help you obviously grow this as much as possible and all the great work that you're doing. It's really amazing stuff. I mean, is it going to be possible for you to be able to, because I'm thinking about the men and women out there who are on ships and, in platoons and, how are you what's the best way for you to get the information to them? Are we going to need to somehow get the government okay on this? Or, how can we get to the people who might be feeling that stress that you're talking about, that you're wanting to provide relief and resources for? How are we going to be able to get the message to those folks?
Well, another great question. And first and foremost, it starts with the people that have the need. We have people that are purchasing homes with us. We have people that are renting homes with us. We have people that are using our property management services. We're able to expose them to what exactly it is that we're able to do with this nonprofit. They're then communicating it to their commands, to their senior leaders, and their senior leaders are now finding out, hey, this is something that is that void. So we're able to come out there and provide this education to them, maybe on base, maybe at a seminar at an office or a conference center or something along those lines. And then from the standpoint of the resources that we provide is really just having the flyers that may be out and about, pushing the nonprofit organization to people, and then also our website and just videos and informationals like what we're doing today, just to let people know about it.
So if there's one thing that someone watching right now, you could tell them that you need for the initiative. It sounds like you need people, might need several things. What is it that people could do to help or become involved in something like this?
Well, go to mmi.vet, which is our organization's website. You could sign on to become a volunteer, or you can even donate to the cause. And on there, the big thing that you'll find is our budgets are there. What we found is a lot of nonprofit organizations that are in the world that are there to help the military veterans and their family members. Some of them are one-man shows. We are much bigger than that. We want to be totally transparent with what it is that we provide. So that information's online. And really, if they go and they want to volunteer, no telling what is going to be needed as we move forward with what we have. So everyone has something that they can work towards. And as you know, Warrior Home is a big piece of this as well. They can volunteer on helping restore someone's house. They can volunteer with doing some logistics pieces to it. There's just so many different avenues that people can provide their own work towards, and we'd love to have them come to our website or give us a call.
Okay, sounds good. LT,
All
thank you so
right.
much for your time, man. Great to see you. All
Hey,
the great work
thank
you're
you.
doing.
All
Really
right,
appreciate it.
It's my honor.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. We are very excited for our next guest, who has the record for YouTube video comments on Smarter San Diego TV. Please welcome back to the show former Navy SEAL and veteran advocate, Andrew Paul. There he is. Andrew Paul. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Love having you on the show because you give us a very fresh perspective on things, some things that I think are pretty important to the citizens of this country, the people who serve this country. One of the things that recently really bothered me that I wanted to ask you about is, you know, it had a Donald Trump rally here in San Diego at the Convention Center. It was a major ruckus in downtown. One of the things that continues to happen at Donald Trump rallies is there's a contingent of people who are burning the American flag. For me, that's something that's that's kind of a big deal in my opinion. But I know, and I've heard the PC answer before. I've heard it before. Hey, you know, it's their right to do this. But I want to know, from a former Navy SEAL, someone who's put his life on the line for this country, how do you feel when you see people burning the American flag in the States?
Well, there's two parts to that answer. And the first part is that, you know, I'm a strong believer in civil liberties, personal liberties. And so on the one hand, I completely respect the fact that you have a protected right to say what you want, to express yourself under the protection of the First Amendment. And the Supreme Court, 1969, ruled that burning of the flag is, in fact, protected under the First Amendment. But you're an idiot for doing so. You're allowed to, but it doesn't mean that what you're doing is right and what you're doing is appropriate or that it's going to solve anything. Burning the American flag, all it's doing, it looks like a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, and it's extremely disrespectful at the same time. Obviously, I fought for our country alongside my brothers, and you know, anybody who serves this country has a strong connection to the American flag. It does represent liberty and freedom. Look, when our guys die and their bodies come back from overseas, their coffins and caskets are draped with the American flag. When you're in the military, you learn a discipline of respecting, saluting, and honoring the flag because it represents freedom and liberty.
I mean, I'll tell you, for me personally, I take issue with it just because of the fact that, kind of what you alluded to, if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. You know, it's not that difficult to go somewhere else if you don't like America, what America stands for.
Right.
But I think the thing that people are forgetting when they're burning that flag is you're not just throwing a temper tantrum about today. This flag has been around for hundreds of years. It represents a lot. There's been a lot of bloodshed for that flag.
That's right.
It isn't just today in a rally being held by a presidential candidate or anything like that. It's much bigger than that. That's the thing that I would hope people would see, Andrew, is that it's bigger than that situation that you're in. I think that when you are at that point where you're going to burn a flag, you know, you have some serious problems. You got a lot of problems.
Because you're not solving anything with that.
No.
And all you're doing is pissing on the honor of those who have fought for freedom and liberty. You're not engendering yourself to them to get them to say, wow, you've burned the flag. Let me listen to what you have to say now. I'm really interested in your opinion now. No, you've marginalized yourself. It's not effective and it's disrespectful. So what's the point?
I wonder if anyone's ever gotten anywhere burning the flag, if that's ever accomplished.
Well, yeah, certain people have. They've gotten their stuff all the way to the Supreme Court. And then, of course, the Supreme Court said, yeah, it's constitutionally protected. Now, it's interesting, in that Supreme Court decision, they said it is protected under the First Amendment. So over the years, we've tried to pass laws that say that desecration of the flag is, you know, some sort of a violation of the law. And the Supreme Court said, no, it's not. But you can be arrested for starting a fire without a permit, and that is why some people get arrested for it.
Okay.
If you work for the police department or the fire department, I would like to see you arrest people for starting a fire without a permit.
Speaking of amendments, again, in this presidential cycle, another big topic, which tends to always be the Second Amendment.
Right.
Which has, here in California, there's certain states that are, more strict than others, like my home state of Missouri, that everybody's packing, you know what I mean? And there's...
Liberty is alive and well.
It is alive and well. Texas, there's other places where it's a totally different ball game. If you have your paperwork, you're good to go.
Yeah. My paperwork's the Constitution, in my opinion. It's pretty clear, right? So any infringement on that liberty, in my opinion, is a violation of your constitutionally protected right. Now, I've heard people say, well, look, and I get it. Some people are scared, they're not into guns, and they say, well, look, we just want to have some reasonable regulations. Like maybe they should have to get a license, like we get a driver's license. Here's a key distinction. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives you a right to drive. Driving is a privilege afforded to you by the state. They bestow this privilege upon you, and therefore they can license it, they can tax it, and they can take it away from you. That's a privilege. The right to free speech, religion, to keep and bear arms is a constitutionally protected liberty and right, just like the right to marry now, as according to the Supreme Court. And recently we had the Supreme Court strike down some Texas abortion laws. So Texas wanted to create some laws that says if you're going to have an abortion in a clinic, the doctor in that clinic has to have admitting privileges in a local hospital in case the abortion goes sideways. And they said, well, this is meant to protect the health of the woman. Supreme Court recently struck that down and said that law puts an unreasonable burden and hurdle in the way of somebody who's wanting to exercise their right to an abortion, which they say is constitutionally protected. So in that same vein, how if we can apply that level of scrutiny to the protection of a right, how is it then not a violation of a constitutionally protected right to say that you have to have a license to carry a weapon, that you should have to go through a background check first to buy a gun, or that you're not allowed to have them in certain areas or things like that, or that you are allowed to have this gun but not that gun? To me, those are violations of the Second Amendment. And until Congress votes to change the law, it is a constitutionally protected right.
But yet the states are overriding that with their laws, which doesn't quite make sense, right? Federal's supposed to trump state, as far as I recall.
Well, but then again, our states are sovereign,
right?
And it's an interesting balance. So states can pass their own laws to the extent, as long as they don't infringe on an individual liberty. So states trump federal because they're sovereign on their own, except that federal can trump state. Look, and I'm not an attorney, all right? but that's what it comes down to,
Well, so let's talk about the most recent gun violence that we've seen.
Yeah.
Okay, in Florida. Anytime this happens, you always have both sides of the argument come up and flare up. And people are saying that, well, hey, this guy legally bought this gun and this ammunition,
right?
And he took it into a place and he killed a bunch of people with it.
Yep.
We've got to do something that keeps people from being able to do that.
Right.
What do you say to people who think that that's the reason why gun laws should change?
The problem is that we're going to take away the rights of individuals for the sake of one person who acts out of line. So do we prevent everybody from being able to drive a car because we have a few people who drive drunk? No, we don't, right? So, cars are dangerous and some people speed, so therefore I think what we should do is pass speeding laws. Well, we already have speeding laws. They don't stop people, right? Look, these are some great quotes I brought along here. So Thomas Jefferson, actually, who's quoting an old 18th century criminologist, says, "The laws that forbid the carrying of arms are laws of such a nature. They disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes." Okay? Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than to prevent homicides. For an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man. And that's really at the root cause of it. We have an inherent right to protect and defend ourselves. Taking away my right or your right to keep and bear arms takes away our ability to defend and protect ourselves. I should have the right to carry a gun to protect myself and my family if I want to, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. But don't limit my right and ability to protect myself. That's really what it comes down to.
Totally agree. Andrew, Paul,
Yeah, buddy.
thank you so much for your time today,
Yeah,
man.
good
Really
to see you.
appreciate it. Great stuff. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. And now it's time for the real estate debate. Let's meet today's guests. Melissa, Sofia, Lisa, Ruiz, Noir, Hermes, and Eric Townsend. All right, folks, let's get to the debate. All right, welcome to the real estate debate. Thank you all for being here so much. It's great to have every single one of you. This is the best real estate discussion in all of San Diego. So first of all, make sure you agree or disagree, or I'll have to press you. Topic number one. Home buyers in this market need to write offers on multiple properties and learn not to fall in love with just one home at a time. Lisa Ruiz.
Absolutely, I agree. You wanna know why? I agree fully, and I tell my clients this all the time. And it depends on the market that you're in. If you're in a competitive market that is like the 450 to 550 price range in East County, then you're going to have to write a couple offers at a time just to make sure that you're casting a big enough net. Otherwise, it could just drag on and on and on.
Okay.
Yeah.
and on and on and
Yeah.
on and on and on. Melissa, what do you think?
I agree with an asterisk.
Okay.
My asterisk being when my clients are writing offers, I always let them know that their offers have to be written in the sense of good faith and fair dealing so that they are actually willing to complete all the transactions that they go out and make offers on. So do I encourage my clients to just run around town writing all kinds of offers, seeing which one sticks? Not necessarily. I feel like that strategy might end them up in a home that's not necessarily perfect for them, and I don't want them to think, oh God, remember that realtor, this house is okay, but it was the only one on the market. I really want to encourage them to find the right home for them, so I'll do things like ask deeper questions of the listing agent, find out some more information, talk to neighbors, really go the extra mile to help them figure out if a home is right for them. And if that, we'll write offers on every home that they find is a good home for them. And if that means we have multiple offers out on properties, then I just make sure that the listing agent knows as soon as possible when my clients decide have a change of heart. So, their needs come first, and quality versus quantity.
I know what you mean by throwing mud against the wall.
Right.
But also, there's the fact that, there's nothing against, there's nothing illegal, there's nothing wrong necessarily from a paperwork standpoint, for going out and writing multiple offers,
Sure.
not necessarily coming through, right? So I like the fact, I like where your ethics are. I do. I like it. Eric, how about you?
I think it's fine when I'm working with a client and I start with a client. I try to really give them a good perspective on what types of properties and what type of offers they need to make on different types of properties. It all comes down to marketing. It comes down to the way the property is presented. If you have a really nice property with a really good price, really beautiful pictures, you just have to let your clients know you're going to be competing for this property. If it's a really, terrible pictures, priced really high, it's a property that's probably not going to be leaving the market for a while, there's opportunities there, and that's where you can make opportunities on properties. So when it comes from a standpoint of writing multiple offers, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with clients doing that. I like to caveat that as well as Melissa with, obviously I want to put terms into the contract that make it clear that the buyer is making multiple offers, if that's the scenario. But typically what I found with clients is if they understand that dynamic, if they understand the different strengths of the marketing pieces that the listing agents are putting out on the market. If it's really strong, they got to go in really strong. And if it's weak, let's take as much advantage of the situation as we can.
Yeah, I guess you don't have to write multiple offers or offers on multiple properties if you're willing to just make a huge offer.
Right.
Right?
You know,
Sometimes you have to.
That's
Sometimes you have
that's
a
one
choice.
way to combat the problem.
But in those scenarios where you have a beautiful house, but there were just really bad pictures taken, you know, you look at the market, you look at people who market properties, and about 5% of the agents in San Diego do about 50% of the listings. That other 50% of the listings are done by people that aren't sharp. They don't know really their market that well. They're not sharp in the market with what's going on. Those are, you know, opportunities, and they use bad pictures. They list the property too high because they don't understand how to explain to a seller, hey, this is a marketing tool as well. Where you list it at isn't where you're going to close at. They don't understand how to explain those different dynamics in their marketing pieces. And when that happens, it gives you an opportunity to go in and, you know, obviously if it's a great property, great pictures, a lot of competition, you go to the open house, there's 100 people there, watch out. It's going to be tough. But if you walk into a house and there's no open house and you go there for a private showing and there's tenants in there and it's impossible to get in, then you probably got an opportunity.
Interesting. So bad pictures might be where the opportunity is.
Usually. I tell clients all the time, I say, look for bad pictures. If you like the house and you like the way it looks, but it's got terrible pictures, other buyers that are looking at it in the market probably don't like it either. So.
Yeah, they just skip right over it because it's so easy to look now. You don't have to invest any time. You're just online and skip next one. You know?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
good point.
Yeah.
Noir, what do you think? Agree or disagree? Home buyers in this market need to write offers on multiple properties, and they're not to fall in love with just one home at a time.
Both, actually. I agree and I disagree in many aspects. I think that it's a learning curve on the client and how, like when you work with a client, I think it's a learning experience. So you get to deal with them, showing them properties that are fresh. You know, first 5 days or first week on the market. You're gonna inform them. Listen, it's gonna be crazy. So just look at it, check it out, see what it is. You show them other properties, and they'll like that one, and they'll like that one. Usually, like with real estate agents, when working with the client, a new client, they usually fall in love with the first home. Oh, that was the first one. They'll always go back to that first. Well, that first house was like this, or it was like that. So when presenting offers on a new listed property, I kind of wait a little bit. And I kind of do like in a tactic because it works sometimes. A lot of times is I'll definitely be in contact with the agent. I'm like, okay, listen, you know, we saw this property, we loved your listing. Clients, you know, they're really, you know, into this property, and you get the vibe of the listing agent. Okay, what's going on? Where are they at? Talk to them about my client. Okay, we're in either VA or we're going in FHA or we're going in financial, and you kind of like scope out to see what kind of insight you can get from them. So if you're talking to a listing agent, they're like, you know, yeah, we had 2 other offers that came in already. We're gonna be meeting with the seller tomorrow. One of them is an FHA buyer. You know, we're kind of in a gray area how much we can expose to keep it all ethical and to keep it all, you know, fair to everybody. But sometimes when you know someone's coming in with 50% down at full price, I'm just gonna tell you, listen, dude, you're 5% coming. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not worth it. But we keep it. I keep it on the back burner all the time.
So you're saying basically that each situation is different.
Every situation.
And so you can't just say, all right, well, for everybody, you should be out running around making multiple offers. And I think that's definitely true. You know, this, situationally speaking, and I'm certainly not encouraging everyone out there who's a home buyer to go and start writing offers on every single property in the neighborhood that you like. You know, that's obviously, you know, absurd. But I think what happens a lot of times is the heartbreak. You know, the heartbreak of the home buyer who's like, oh, we found the perfect house. They get so excited. They start picturing things. And they make a good offer even.
Right.
And they still don't get it because the 50% down guy.
Right.
That happens, and that heartbreak is there. So I think more importantly than just being, you know, willing to write offers on multiple properties is just reminding yourself that if you fall in love with a property, it could be dangerous.
When you have clients that aren't successful in making the right offer on a property, the highest offer, and they go into it, as long as you've advised them correctly and as long as you've explained to them the situation with the property and that this is going to be tough, there's going to be competition on the property, it's going to be hard, and they understand that. Once that's done, if they're not successful on it, they'll usually continue going forward because at least they knew that it was going to be tough. It's the client that is surprised.
It's
when
all
they don't
about
get the
preparing
offer.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All about it, so they're not
It's very
surprised.
important. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the choice is theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Preparation. Watch this show, you get a lot of preparation.
You got to prepare them and have a good offer.
Yeah, good offers.
All about writing good offers
Crucial, and communication.
and
with
being a
listing
good
agent.
negotiator. Absolutely.
All right, headed to topic number 2. Home sellers who also want to buy are better off renting until this market cools down a little, not just because of prices, but because of how hard it is to coordinate the simultaneous transactions. Noir?
Yes, I agree. In a point where right now the rental market is just ridiculously fire. Something will go on Craigslist, or we'll list it, or I'll put an ad on my Facebook. It'll be rented within several hours.
Wow.
Sometimes, and this happened recently actually. I had a property in El Cajon off of in Granite Hills area. I just put on my Facebook. I don't even use Craigslist or anything like that. And I said we're gonna have an open house for viewing from 1 to 3. I had 10 applications. I couldn't keep up. I didn't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. I just told the guy, look, they're all great. Pick one. Some actually, the person that actually took it, they brought deposit, first month's rent, right on the spot. Like, here you go. We need a spot.
Yeah, and people don't do that just naturally. That's after a couple of them have fallen through, that they start bringing the checkbook with them.
Yeah.
They're just at a point where they need to be aggressive. It's all about the whole aggression. But going back to the question in regards to the sellers, sometimes it depends on where the seller is what they're doing. If they're selling the property to upsize or to downsize or to relocate, I mean, it all depends. So
I think a lot of sellers right now actually want to cash in on the market. I think they kind of see, that the market's high.
Absolutely.
Surprisingly high in some cases. And they go, well, all right, we've seen this before. Last time we wish we had sold.
Right.
The tenured sellers.
So how do we take advantage this time? Because if we want to sell, but then we just buy in the same market, we didn't really get anything. I think that's where it's coming from.
And all they're doing is recycling their money. If not, they're actually getting less for what they have. They're going to end up paying higher in property taxes. It's probably a smaller house for the bank that they have the equity in.
Right.
Unless they're downsizing or they're relocating, for example, to downtown, or they're instead of moving, their kids went to college, they don't want this 5-bedroom house anymore. They'd rather go, get a 2-bedroom condo in Little Italy, and they have several $100,000 in equity after they bought. Why not?
Okay, makes sense. Eric, what do you think about sellers who are, considering not putting off the buy side of their deal to rent?
I think it's a bad idea. I think that the dual escrows, I think it's very possible to do it. Again, it comes down to the market, what the market's doing. You can always find a client a property, you can get them into a property. I think that the risk here is, even if everything that we have right now economically with our market in San Diego is based on fundamentals. We don't have crazy loans. We don't have adjustable rate mortgages. We don't have negative amortization mortgages. We have a market that's based on fundamentally sound loans, and it's also a market where incomes are increasing about 3% a year. So we know increases that come from wages are going to directly relate to how much they're able to afford. And right now, from everything that I hear from the real players in the market, the National Association of Realtors, all the different people that are discussing the market, we have a bubble, but it's on the buyer side. We have a lack of supply. There's no question that buyers still want to get into the market and they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to pay top dollar for it, and that's going to continue until we run into a situation where there's more supply, and we're just not there. So I think getting out of the market and losing, if you have a $900,000 house and it's going to gain 3% per year, that's $27,000 a year you're losing on that property. And to take that money out and go into the rental market where you don't get the tax breaks, you don't get those benefits, you're basically putting your money into somebody else's pocket. That's all where you could be paying down your own principal for your own property, and you could also be accumulating the gains in that property.
Okay.
And I don't think anybody really right now thinks that the market is necessarily in a bad position. Yeah, it's definitely high. It's gone to a high point, but fundamentally it's still sound.
Melissa, what do you think?
I disagree. Out of 13 homes I have in escrow, probably 5 of them are contingent upon the sale of another property. And
You say you have 13 homes in escrow right now?
I do.
Go, girl. Dang.
So, yeah, and I'm
You
still
take
here.
somebody
And
to
she's here, yeah, she's
I was going to say, you take somebody to lunch after.
All right, lunch is on me. So, many of those homes are contingent upon the sale of another property. I am definitely not an agent that's afraid to do multiple transactions simultaneously. I think that there are so many sellers out there that have been waiting years to recoup the home values. Some of them bought high and are just now seeing the opportunity to make moves that they've been waiting to make for a long time. So I think it's important to support our clients regardless of how difficult a transaction may be. Do I have clients out there who like to only sell high and buy low? Yeah, I do. And those are the people that are going to be renting, even though the rental market is probably just as crazy as our seller's market right now. But you know, I think the most important thing is to keep my clients up to date and current. Things like Brexit and making the interest rate drop. Just keeping my clients informed on that, and they can make their decision upon what is best for them.
Okay, Lisa, I want to know what you think about simultaneous transactions.
I love simultaneous transactions. I think I'm pretty adamant about clients. Unless you have a really good reason to not buy something right away, you absolutely need to sell your house, buy another one, do it simultaneously. I have had clients insist on doing it the other way, and they've lost out. They've sold their house. We're gonna wait and we're gonna rent and we're gonna wait till we find the perfect house, or we're gonna wait until the prices drop, and then the prices never drop, and then they spent all their money, and then they thought it was gonna be a better outcome, and then they're upset because they're renters now and they've spent all their money and they can't buy another house. And if you're talking about like the average person, it's what's best for them. Do they want to be a homeowner? Probably. Like, you know, it's the American dream. They probably want to be a homeowner. They want to have the tax write-off, and renting doesn't give you either of those. And just over long term, like Eric said, over long term, it's definitely what's best for that client. And I'm talking about like the average family, not the person that's, you know, buying rental properties or has a whole bunch of extra things.
We're talking about people who want to buy.
We're talking about people who want to own a home.
Right.
So if you want to own a home and you want to be that homeowner and you eventually want to pay your home off and probably have that financial freedom, then renting is not part of that. So, and 100% you have to have a realtor that knows how to do that, because it's tricky and it can turn into a disaster sometimes.
What I will tell you is this, and we'll close it with this, and I appreciate everyone's comments. This has been awesome. Thank you all so much for coming. What I'll tell you is this. Going from being a homeowner to a renter in this market is like the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
Like, when do you jump back in? It's like double Dutch, you know?
Right.
Seriously.
It's
like,
so true.
How do you, when do you know? What if, you know, that house is $25,000 more? And do you now have to wait?
Right.
You know, or do you have to like pay up?
And then they question themselves.
You question everything.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, sideways moves in up markets are okay, you know, especially if you're cashing out on the front end of it. But everyone's situation is unique, and that's why we've been great professionals on the real estate debate. Thank you guys so much for coming on today.
You.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
We'll be back again next month, same time, same channel. We will see you then.
Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go. Angela? Nikki?
Yeah, I gotta go beat traffic. And I think Nikki's making something up there.
Look at this. We did this. We did all of this.